Hello and welcome to the Pulse on Matchday Live. A disappointing end to the game this evening. Chelsea won, Brighton won. An injury time equaliser from Danny Welbeck has shared the point. So that's our hashtag for tonight, is kicking the teeth. It's a wounding finish, Sam, to a good game of football.
Yeah, it was end to end at points, but I think we kind of controlled it going into that last 3 or 4 minutes, and unfortunately the Mount goal didn't count, and I think we can talk about that for as long as we want, but yeah, it's just really, really deflating.
It's exactly that, isn't it, Zach? It is deflating. It's annoying because it's a game of football that, it was a good game of football. Brighton have very much played their part, and I think overall, Jason said it at the end there, you can't really take too much away from them because they probably were good value for a point, but when you get into the 90th minute and you're in command and you're in control and you're 1-up and you're at home, you want to see the game out.
Yeah, 100%. And we've been here before. It's about learning from our mistakes, and we just hadn't learned. The game isn't over until it's over, and we kind of, I think we were still annoyed about not getting the goal from Mason Mount, which is understandable, but you got to focus until that final whistle's blown. I think Jason's right. This isn't like Everton, where we dominated the game, missed loads and loads of chances, and ended up coming out away with just a point. Realistically, Brighton deserved a goal. It came in an annoying way for sure, but they definitely deserved to get something from this game. I don't think many Chelsea fans will probably say that we deserved all 3 points today. And it's annoying because it feels like now that title feels a little bit just out of reach. Not to say it's not over, because you can't think like that in football. But yeah, it's frustrating, especially when now our next few games, not to say Brighton were easy, but Liverpool, Spurs, Man City, they're tough fixtures in January.
We made the point before the game, we weren't taking this game by lightly at all, like Zach was saying there, but when you do look at the run of fixtures we've got coming up, 3 times we play Spurs in January, we play Liverpool, Manchester City in there as well. Games like tonight are the ones that you look back and you think, at home, you've got to win your home games. You've got to win your home games against the teams that shouldn't be competing at the top end of the table.
Yeah.
Brighton have been good value for it. They've come and played some really good football tonight and probably come away with a deserved point, like we keep saying, but realistically, that'll be a frustrating one. And I think, we're not going to over-dwell on it, but there is a contentious moment at the end. The decision's not gone our way. And rightly or wrongly, that'll be what you focus on, because it's those discretions, those things that don't go your way that you do feel a bit hard done by. And that's, I suppose, the feeling that a lot of Chelsea fans are going to come away from tonight with.
Yeah, we've had a few moments this season with some of the draws where it could have gone either way. We could have scored in the last minute, or we could have scored one of the early opportunities. I think Hallam had an opportunity early in the second half that I think if he had just taken a bit more time, maybe he would have made a shot or maybe passed it later. But yeah, those little moments, it's so key to a season where you're fighting against City, one of the best clubs in the world, Liverpool as well. So you've got to, it's all a learning curve really. You can't dwell on it too much, because like Zach said, we've got a lot of tough games coming up, and like we've been doing in December, we've had a few tough results, but it's every game as it comes. The main thing that we want from it is just the mentality. We don't want heads to drop. We don't want to get stuck in, like we said, December's over now, we're moving January on Sunday, so we just got to keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely right. Let's get some social media reaction, mainly to the Mason Mount goal at the end there that didn't think it was a foul, hashtag soft. Yeah, I think you're bang on, Manny. I don't think it's a fouling at all. Goal should have stood. Yeah, absolutely. It's not a foul. It's just not a foul, is it?
Yeah.
It's just not a foul, is it?
Look, referees have different things. My issue there more so is, okay, you now know you've got VAR here, so why not? Let's see how it plays out. If it happens and Mason Mount does score, which he does, then go to VAR. You can then look at it. You can then see whether you can make sure you make the right decision that way. Calling things, the same with the offsides, calling things so early on, you're stopping the possibility of what could happen, and then actually finding out what the right decision is to make. Because if he lets it carry on for 5 more seconds, Mason Mount scores. He can then go to the screen and have a look and make a decision that way. But look, Chelsea in this game had chances. Callum Hudson-Odoi had probably 2. Kanté had a good chance. Lukaku had an okay chance. And so there are chances there that we could have put it to bed earlier. I think that's something we've really struggled with since the West Ham game. And it's either been our own mistakes, or it's been chances that we've not taken away. And it's something that we need to get better at. And if we do, then things will be changing, that's for sure.
I think there's the difference, though, isn't it, Sam? Because I think Zach's hit the nail on the head there. You know, we've had opportunities. Tony Rudiger's header at the far post as well.
Exactly.
It's a good opportunity for a player of Tony's quality, and there's enough chances within the game for Chelsea to have won it tonight. I thought Edu Mendy was sensational in goal for Chelsea as well, which kind of tells a story of both teams had chances to win it, and probably why a point is a fair result. But I suppose when you look at the overview, because we do get caught up in it a little bit, but we've not lost the game. Like we do come away. This is the standard that Chelsea set. A draw feels like a defeat. But, you know, we're talking about teams that our poor run is 1 defeat in 18. But for a lot of teams, you know, that's an unbelievable run. But those are the standards, and those are the differences, I suppose, between teams that run away with the league title and teams that will be scrapping right until the end. And it's obviously a lot more entertaining for neutral fans, but for us Chelsea fans, I'd much rather us be 10, 15 points clear.
Yeah, we're still in amongst it. Like it's not over. Even though the point gap is, as we can see it, it's not necessarily the end of the world. And I don't think we've been losing games week in, week out. It's just a few moments, like Zach said, and you said, like, it's just those moments where we're 1-0 up, and, you know, if we get a second goal, the other team's going to be deflated. But then when they're going into the last 5 minutes, you know that they're going to have their tails up because they see an opportunity can come, and a draw for them, a draw for any team at Stamford Bridge is a great result. So we always just have to have that in our minds, that if we don't see out games in the first 80 to 85 minutes, the last 50 minutes, it's going to be a very difficult game. So it's a learning curve. We've come a long way with a lot of the players that we have as well, bringing in new players, the injuries that we had to deal with in this game as well. I think we dealt with it quite well in the second half with the way the team adjusted. So it's not necessarily the worst, but right now, obviously, it's still a bit sore. Yeah,
it's a sore one now, isn't it? I suppose that would be the disappointing from Thomas Tuchel's perspective, because when he came in, Chelsea would score one and that would be it. You could almost blow the full-time whistle as soon as that first goal goes in, because you know it's over, it's finished. That would be the disappointment now, is we've done all the hard work. We're on the home straight, really, and it's not a set piece, but it is a set piece, isn't it, in the way it comes about, and it's a good delivery from the left-hand side, and it's a good header from Danny Welbeck. He kind of peels between Tony Rudiger and Trevor Chalobah. It's a good header, but it is one where I suppose those are the patterns of play that Thomas Tuchel will be frustrated about, because he probably worked on that all week. We
even started this season amazing defensively. There were talks about whether we'd break the Chelsea record of 14? 15. You know, under Jose Mourinho, 4, for how many goals you can see in the Premier League, and I think that was valid. And then it feels like we have slipped up a little bit, but again, I think when you look at the bigger picture, you have to then take into consideration the injuries that's happened and the COVID stuff that's happened. That N'Golo Kanté, how many games can he play? How many minutes can he play? Because he's so important to you guys, to the team, in keeping the ball and getting turnovers and making tackles high up in the pitch to stop them from counter-attacking. And then the tiredness factor. I mean, he'd mentioned previously that Jorginho was playing for a hip injury. I've not seen Jorginho take any time off to show whether he's still playing with that injury, whether there's a few others. And so, yeah, I mean, Trevor, I'm sure he probably would have preferred to keep Trevor on the bench because he'd played so many games. But at the same time, it's a game of football. You have to be playing and keep your wits about you until the final whistle. And it did feel like maybe we just fell asleep a little bit at the end. Look, we didn't have our normal right wing back playing in normal right wing back. Our left wing back is Ben Chilwell. He's been out. He's now out for the rest of the season. So it's annoying, but you kind of have to deal with the cards you've been dealt. Like Liverpool will be dealt with this kind of situation. City may have to deal with this kind of stuff. And to be honest, only losing to West Ham and only losing to Man City in halfway through the season isn't that bad. It's just, I think there's been a few games where we've been winning and we've conceded late on that feel like we've lost a lot more.
I completely agree, mate. I think everything you're saying is absolutely bang on. That interests me a little bit in terms of what Zach was saying there about how we've dealt with things, because there's been a lot of chat recently about the amount of football that's been played, and especially during COVID, and there's been cases, and there's thinner squads, and squads are feeling the pressure and everything like that. Chelsea are one of the only teams that haven't missed a game in terms of at all, in terms of missed a beat when competing on all 4 fronts. Carabao Cup action, which obviously Manchester City don't have to deal with at the moment. Liverpool had a game called off at the weekend as well. So we're the only team really that's had to deal with this constant threat of football all the time. Now, obviously, we're not falling back on that as an excuse, but in terms of the demands on the players is a lot. So that tiredness factor, that fatigue could be the reason if you concede late in a game. It's natural. If we'd have had a full complement today, like you said, we wouldn't have, maybe at 60 minutes, Kovacic would have come off because he's not played a huge amount of football. Romelu Lukaku might have been the one taken off, etc. But because you're forced into change, you have to deal with that. Chelsea are dealing with it the best way they possibly can. But I suppose you do have to look at it naturally. There is going to be that fatigue and that pressure on players. Potentially, if that is a reason, it may not be, but there are constant factors you have to take into consideration. Yeah,
it's not really an excuse. It's just our reality. It's one of those things where when Tuchel's been talking about it in press conferences, obviously you can say there's been a few managers that have spoken about playing every 3 games, and they're concerned. Like Jay said on commentary, they're concerned about the players and their well-being. They're seeing them in training every single day, how they're feeling, how many recovery sessions they have to be in, how many times they need to see the physiotherapist. So obviously they understand the demands it's having on their bodies. So in games like this where you're seeing a Jorginho who hasn't missed rarely any game, and he's had that hip injury, there's other players that have had little knocks they've had to play through. We saw Christensen play it through in the first half because he probably didn't want to come off. Chalobah, who's just come back from an injury, he's been playing a few games. So I understand when Tuchel says it, I understand when other players say it as well, but it's just the cards you've been dealt. And I think once we look back on this period, yes, we've had a few results where we would have wanted to get the 3 points. So like today, like last minute, we've conceded. But at the same time, it's not terrible, but we can understand that in this situation, we can maybe say we did all right.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And obviously now we're moving into the January period. The January transfer window opens as well, and there's a lot of teams that we're looking at strengthening their squads.
Sure.
And, that'll be an interesting perspective. But I suppose also we've seen already other names come into the fold. Harvey Vale, Jude Soon-Suk-Bell, Xavier Simons played really well the other week, and we had a couple of players on the bench as well that didn't get their opportunity. But again, I'm sure we'll be in and amongst it come January. We've got Chesterfield early on in January as well. Maybe that's an opportunity for Thomas Tuchel to look at some players that perhaps haven't been afforded the minutes so far. Not taking that game for lightly, of course, but that is an opportunity to experiment a little bit more that perhaps other teams don't have because they've got tougher ties in the third round of the FA Cup.
Yeah, 100%. It's a game where, to be honest, whatever squad Chelsea put out, they still have a very strong side that can do a lot of damage. And I think it'll be a very good way to kind of assess what options he has that, as you said, haven't played so much football. Some of the youngsters, maybe players like Barkley, so all haven't played, get some more minutes under their belt, because that's half of what it is. There's only so much you can do in training. Playing 90 minutes of football out there on Stamford Bridge or away from home is really where you can test yourself, and that could maybe be the change you need. I think it's also going to be a game as well where you can give some of the players that need a rest, because you got to feel for some of them. Mason Mount feels like he's playing every single game out there. The Rudiger is always always featuring in that squad, and so I think it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a strong January. But sometimes I think Chelsea like playing teams that are up there. Like when you're going up against a Brighton or whatever, the expectation is for you to win. If you don't win, it's annoying in whatever way, whether you draw or lose. When you're playing a Tottenham, when you're playing a Man City, when you're playing a Liverpool, the pressure's on both teams here, and so there's less pressure on players to make sure you get a win. Of course, they're always going to try and get a win. But I feel like when Chelsea play the top half or the big boys, we seem to kind of take it up a level. We seem to not fall asleep. We seem to make sure we're rigid and we're not taking too many risks, and we take our chances. And so hopefully that will also kind of kick us into gear as well. Maybe this is actually kind of what we need. I'm sure Thomas Tuchel wouldn't want them one after another, but it could be something that is actually a good thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Let's have a little look back, because I don't want tonight to sell what has been an incredible year. It's been a fantastic year, isn't it? And just looking back over it, obviously Champions League winners, that's the big one. What a magical night in Porto. Thomas Tuchel comes in. Frank Lampard obviously did a massive amount for the football club on and off the pitch, and what an absolute legend he remains at this football club. Thomas Tuchel comes in, brilliant transition, FA Cup final, top 4 Champions League winners, Super Cup winners in the summer. New addition being Romelu Lukaku, and Thiago Silva signs a new deal. Trevor Chalobah comes in. It's been an amazing year, Sam, and it's one of those where, like we were saying pre-match, it gives you a lot of pride on and off the pitch how much this football club has done in the last 12 months.
Yeah, it's been a historic year. I think if you'd said that would have been the case this time last year, I don't think people would have, many Chelsea fans would have said that, do you know what I mean? So the fact that we're sitting here, we're the champions of Europe, we won the Super Cup, we've got Tuchel signing another contract, we've got Lukaku, we've got multiple players coming through the academy. I think it's a good time to be a Chelsea fan, and we can only be grateful in a sense of how far we've come along, and that we can see that the future's looking really bright. So yeah, man, it's been a great year, and I think next year could be much better.
Absolutely right. Chelsea women winning the quadruple, PL2 team doing really well, development side doing well, John Terry coming back, amazing. Right, loads to look forward to over the next couple of days on the Fifth Stand-Up. Obviously starting 2022 in a big way. Chelsea-Liverpool, Sunday afternoon, Matchday Live, 3:25. Join us for it. What a start to the new year. Boys, thank you so much. Brilliant all year long, not just tonight. Good work as always. Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't end the way we wanted it to, but 2021 has been not only historic, but a very memorable year for Chelsea Football Club. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in 2022.